Nico. Mike Curtis with the Dallas Morning News. Just curious, what's your overall assessment of how the season went, just given where you guys started, the moves you made at the trade deadline, and just getting all the way to the NBA Finals?
Whew, good question. We're proud of the way this season went. We're committed to building a winning organization that has championship aspirations. I'm proud of the coaches, the staff, the players. I really felt like we grew. Some of the things I talked to them, the staff as well as the players and coaches, is that, really want everybody to come back 10 to 15% better, mind, body, spirit. And I think if we do that, we're going to be proud of the results for the next year.
Nico, did this team run up against a team who's just their time? Do you think you're a couple of pieces away? I mean, it seems like you guys are right there with them.
Yeah, I mean, I really love our core. I feel like we were really in the playoffs since March 7th. We were fighting just to get into the playoffs and not be in the play-in. And I think after a while, you have that grind from March 7th, and then we had 3 really tough series. I think after a while, we didn't have the same juice in the finals that we did in the first few rounds, and I think it just wore on us. And give those guys credit. They've had to go through their trials and tribulations to be where they're at, but they were the better team for sure.
Nico, you said you love this core, and your goal is to build this team for championship aspirations. When you look at the roster construction, what areas would you say needs to improve for this team?
Really, I think we have the pieces. I think we just need to get better ourselves. Since I've been here, I've always, but our front office staff, we've always been looking to make it better, so we'll continue to do that. But the core is intact. If you look at our top 7, 8 players that play the biggest minutes, I don't see anything happening with that.
Nico, Joey Mastrota with Clutch Points. We got to see a full year of Derek Lively, and just his development has been really incredible. I just want to get your take on his season and just his development and maybe expectations for the future.
Yeah, I mean, D-Live, he's improved right before our eyes. I mean, literally, the guy from the first part of the season all the way through to the playoffs, he's just continued to improve. I think the sky's the limit. I think we got a good one in him. All defensive player, all-star type guy. I mean, who knows when his timeline will happen, but he's well on his way to being a special player.
You mentioned keeping the top 7 or 8 players. Obviously, D. Jones is included in that group. What's your optimism as far as being able to work something out with him, and do you anticipate that it will require some kind of tinkering to be able to get to a number?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how we're going to do it, but he's a priority. He's priority 1A and 1B. I think he fits in with our team. He loves it here. We have to figure out, obviously, the dynamics to get him to stay. But, yeah, that's a priority, and we'll do what we have to do to get it done.
So what are the other priorities this summer? You mentioned 1A, 1B.
No, I said he's 1A and 1B.
Oh, he's 1A. He's both. I got you.
Yeah.
How's Luka get 10 to 15% better?
Easy. I think, if you look at Luka, one, we're not where we're at without Luka. I think that's important to point out. And we also won't be able to get where we want to go without the best version of Luka. And if you look at a guy who had, after Game 3, had the world on his neck, the scrutiny, which was crazy, the amount of scrutiny that he had to face, and for him to focus in and do what he did in Game 4, I just think it just shows the character of him and is willing to fight through adversity. And I think he's going to continue to get better. He's 25 years old. So I think just going through the finals, him seeing what he needs to do to be at his best in the finals after going through a grueling end of the year and then 3 tough matchups, I think you're going to see the best version of him.
Nico, back to Derek Lively and looking ahead at his career, and you said, sky's the limit for him. What is next, do you think, in terms of what you'd like to see from him in his development, and how do you guys go about helping him have a plan for his first NBA offseason?
Well, one, I think he needs to rest. One of the things Michael Finley pointed out to me in my first year, like they always talk about the rookie wall, it's not really that rookies hit a wall, but they go from college straight to workouts for the NBA combine, and so they actually don't rest, And so if you take a rookie like him, went straight from college to work out for all these teams, to get drafted, play in summer league. They go through their whole first year and they don't rest, and then you take him playing huge minutes all the way into the finals. So the first thing for him is just rest. But his maturation, the way he talks on the court, his resiliency, all the stuff he's gone through on and off the court, and still being able to play at a high level, like he's gonna get better. I think, obviously the defense, what he did in the playoffs was amazing. Being able to switch off some of the best guards in the league and really contain them. The way he can block shots, finish at the rim. You all seen his shoot a three-pointer. He can do that. He's not gonna be a pick and pop guy, but eventually he has the skill to do it. But for our team, that's not what we're gonna ask him to do. He's really good in the short roll. He can even get better in that. He can pass from both sides of the floor. So I think he's just gonna continue to get better. If they guard a little guy on him, being able to post up, and us having the confidence to throw it in and him finishing, which I think he can do. So I think there's a lot of room for him to grow, and he'll do it.
Nico, from over here in the back, from a year prior to missing the play-in and knowing how that offseason was, and then this year obviously making the NBA Finals, how do you expect the offseason for yourself and the players to kind of be different coming off an NBA Finals mentality-wise and just everything that goes into that?
I think everybody's, once you get a taste of winning, I like to believe that everybody's going to be focused like we are to getting back there. And so that's why I talk about everybody coming back 10 to 15% better. I tell the staff the same thing. The staff needs to come back 10 to 15% better, and that's mind, body, and spirit. And I think, when you play this long, it wears on everybody. Even though you're winning, it's a grind. And so people need to take time off, kind of fill their cup back up, and get mentally prepared for a long season.
Nico, kind of a multifaceted Luka question. Obviously, in the middle of a playoffs, it's not in a team's best interest to be specific about how much a player is hurting and where he's hurting. What can you tell us about the extent that he was hurting? Will he require any kind of off-season procedures? And has a decision been made about whether he'll play with Slovenia in the next week or so?
Yeah, I mean, you guys all know Luka, and you see the way he moves. Like, he was hurting, but he's a warrior. He's going to fight through all those injuries. That's just who he is. He loves to play. But yeah, he's multiple injuries throughout his body. That's evident, and you could see the way he's walking and running. But again, he's a warrior, so he's going to fight through it. In terms of playing for the national team, I think that's probably one of his biggest joys. So I think as long as he can walk, he's probably going to go out there and play for them. That would be my expectation.
Nico, you mentioned the staff coming back 10 to 15% better. Obviously, the reports with Jared Dudley and Sean Sweeney getting interest from other teams. I think it's expected from a finals run, but I guess how do you balance letting them pursue those type of opportunities while trying to maintain them on your staff?
Yeah, I mean, for both of those guys, we love both of them. We respect them. They've been valuable to getting us to where we're at, but at the same time, it's about people. And our goal is to develop players and staff. And so if opportunities present themselves, we're going to support them. But they know how much we want them back. But it's about growth. Like, you can't hamstring players from staff from growing. So we're going to support them, but we do want them back, and we're hopeful that they'll be back.
Nico, when you talk about right here, Nico, when you talk about the 15% better, where do you see that for PJ Washington, another player who's 25, part of the score going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I go back to, I probably should have said this from opening, but we really, to get to where we were, we relied on 4 players who had little to no playoff experience: Lively, Gafford, Derrick Jones Jr., and PJ. So those 4 players, who y'all know played huge minutes for us, were a big part of our team, had little to no playoff experience. And so just think about what they've learned, and then how do they come back and incorporate that in their game from the start, I think is going to be huge. PJ specifically, I think he can add a few more points a game. taking the ball off the rim and pushing it, posting up smaller players, shooting a little higher percentage from the three-point line, penetrating when they run him off the line. I think he can add a few more points a game. So he's going to, like, he's poised to continue to get better. But I really think just the experience all four of those players got in the playoffs is going to carry them into next season.
And then as a front office, I'm curious, when you kind of assess how the postseason went, how do you assess a series like Boston? Boston is, I think, a team that makes it difficult on a lot of players. The PJ, the Derricks, they were better earlier in the postseason. How do you look at that series and say, yes, that's both the level that you as a team want to get to, but also that's a unique matchup that maybe doesn't show the true test of, the true ability of some of these players who might have struggled a little bit more than they did in previous rounds?
Yeah, I don't throw everything out the window that we did leading up to it. I really think that the accumulation of, really being in the playoffs in March and then having those three grueling series leading up to it, I think affected our ability to play at our best, and obviously they did too. But at the end of the day, our best two players are going to dictate what our role players do.
Nico, I'm sure you're aware of Rich Paul saying the Mavs would be among those interested in Bronny because you were basically an uncle to Bronny. What, if anything, can you tell us about that?
I don't think I can say anything about players that aren't drafted. So, Rich is going to say what he's going to say.
Nico, you mentioned Game 3 and the amount of attention Luka got. One of the consistent narratives that we've heard then and before is about his conditioning, health, weight. It's all from media members. As he gets ready for another season and now even this summer, is that a priority, or do you think that is something that is needs to be addressed for him moving forward?
Yeah, I think one of the things that you'll see is that with all the scrutiny, how he bounced back with Game 4, he's going to be reflective of how does he get to his best, how does he get 10 to 15% better, and I think you'll see him coming back ready to address those issues.
How would you describe the way your working relationship with Patrick Dumont operates in terms of, trade deadline, draft, whatever business you guys are operating from a roster perspective this summer?
How do I see it happening?
Yeah, how does that dynamic with you and Patrick work?
It's going to be great. I mean, Patrick is, he's kind of similar to what I've been used to in corporate America. He runs a huge company. He's a CEO of, I think they probably have like 35,000 people. So he's very much, he's not emotional. He's more like strategic. He's not going to be in the weeds. But yeah, we're going to be fine. We're going to have a great relationship. We already do. I see it working very well.
Nico, you throughout the playoffs, the consistent production from the offensive production from the bench was kind of lacking. If the 7 or 8 guys are pretty much in place, where is that improvement going to come from there?
Well, I disagree with that. I think our playoff production from our benches was really good. That's why we won those 3 series leading up to it. I think every game there was another guy that popped. You didn't see that in the finals, but if you go back, the Clipper series, OKC series, the Minnesota series, every game one of our bench guys rose to the occasion. So I don't really agree with that. Now, it didn't happen in the finals, but our team just didn't play that good in the finals either, including our best players. So it's tough when we're not playing good as a team to expect the guys on the bench to come out and all of a sudden they're going to play miraculously.
Nico, you've kind of touched on it before, but Celtics seem to be poised for another run. And let's say it's the same teams that match up next year, hypothetically. What gives you confidence that the Mavericks would be different or better suited besides just one playoff run to get over that hump?
Well, I think the biggest thing is experience. I said this earlier. We had 4 guys who had little to no playoff experience at all. So I think those 4 are all going to be better prepared. And then also the rest of the team just actually being to the finals and now knowing what it takes to get there and not just get there, but also having enough energy to be at their best.
Nico, I have a question about the guards. We know a lot about Luka. First of all, what did you learn about Kyrie kind of off the court, things that maybe some of us weren't able to see? And then for a guy like Jaden Hardy, how have you seen his development and kind of where he falls into the rotation and where you see him and his growth points this offseason?
Yeah, Jaden, big time growth. When he first came in here, I think he was a scorer. Everybody knew he could score, but now he can, he can see the passes to the corner. He can throw lobs. He's really developed. His three-point shot is really solid. So I think he's going to continue to develop as he progresses. But he's been great, and he'll continue to be better. In terms of Kyrie, I've known him since he was 16, so there's really not much that I didn't know about him. But I think the things that you guys probably all saw about him is what a great teammate he is and leader. And so it was great that people that are outside of his circle could actually see the type of person he is and the type of leader he is. And I think that's kind of been documented a lot lately.
So heading into the offseason, do you see this core staying intact? Do you still see, because last summer we're still a few pieces away. Do you think you have all of the pieces, or is still room to add? Or is this an internal development deal where you just need guys to play better and develop for next season?
Yeah, I think it's both. I think like I said earlier, our core, call it the seven, 8 guys that play the most. I don't see much changing out of that. But we're always going to try to get better. That's just the nature of our job. But there's one thing when you're trying to get a little bit better, tinker on the edges, or you're trying to massively overhaul. When you don't make the playoffs like last year, like we were a little bit more desperate. Like when you go to the finals, now it's like, how can we get 10 to 15% better? I don't think it's a major swing.
Nico, right here. I'm just curious what the past couple months have been like. Obviously the front office, is going to do the job that they have. But as you're also navigating a finals run, obviously you've been to the conference finals before and kind of had to navigate that. But what was it like, with the team still playing and you guys are also prepping for the offseason and preparing? And what's it like, just in your day-to-day with the, job you have, the jobs underneath you, just about how that process has kind of gone for y'all?
It's been a lot, but that's like the good problems, right? Everybody wants to have those type of problems, so we accept them. It's also about leadership and delegation. We have a huge front office. We have a bunch of scouts. It's really trusting in what they do and their ability. I don't have to be at every workout. We have a workout right now, but we have a great front office staff. They'll give me all the notes, and it'll be like I'm actually there. So it's really about delegation and trusting the staff that we have in place, and they've been great. So. Again, it's a little more work. Got to watch a little more film, but good problems to have.
It doesn't sound like you're planning to spend a bunch of money in the offseason, and there would be salary cap constraints anyway. I'm just curious.
We're going to spend all the money we have in offseason.
Well, that gets to the question that with new ownership, with the Adelson and Dumont families, what's your sense of their commitment to spending what would be necessary on the player salary front to go where the franchise wants to go?
Yeah, I don't think money's going to be an object. I think it's doing it the right way, bringing in people with good character. The money is not going to be the limiting factor. They want to win. We're going to be smart about it, though. But I don't expect we're not having money conversations.
I'm curious your thoughts on with how the finals went and three-point shooting being such a big part of it. What are your thoughts on the three-point volume that the team has gotten, and what are your thoughts on the shooting development? What's most important for an organization heading into an off-season for shooting development?
Just continue to shoot. I think we got good shooting coaches. We got good development coaches. Again, you don't want to boil the whole season down to how the finals ended, even though it was a disappointment. You have to kind of rise above that and look at the totality of the whole season. Look at I like to say from March 7th on, we were in the playoffs. Look at the other series. We shot the ball fine. Can we get better? Yes. Will we get better? Yes. But I just don't want to look at the finals as the disappointment from that, and now it's like, oh my gosh, we're doomed. Like you gotta you got to pull up from that and kind of look at the whole season, and that's what we're doing.
I did want to ask, are there any specific plans for Prosper this offseason?
Yes, for him to get better. No, Omax is going to be good. We had his exit interview, and really for him, we just want him to have a really good summer, get confidence, because the kid can play. He can play on both sides of the ball, and the goal for him is to come back in September in great shape, with a lot of confidence and ready to compete for minutes. He's a rookie playing with a team with a lot of good players in front of him, and so I think if he attacks this summer like he will, he has really hard work ethic, great kid. That next year he comes back in great shape and confident enough to compete for minutes. Yes, he's going to play in Vegas. Yep. Thanks.